Okay, we're now going to cover the second part of understanding sigils, or what can be considered scalar wave energetic symbols, meaning they produce a energy by their particular structure. And this structure can be written on a piece of paper, can be 3D, etc. There is a empowerment to take actually sigils that already do work, that are 1D, and make them 3D, and this should produce much stronger fields. Now, we also have to get into what's not a traditional sigil. Now, we know what traditional sigils are, as I covered in my first audios. In fact, your typical Solomon seals, your pentacles, single symbols in general. Whether that's the Star of David, the swastika, and other things, are symbols and can trigger emotional and mental responses. And then there's the more physical responses you get from clockwise and counterclockwise spirals. Now, the physical element is very important. I've never known anybody who draws a counterclockwise actual spiral and projects that energy into a person where it actually works. But of course, this could be tested in an interesting psychic power testing situation we could try and do. In general, the transferring of this image to the physical world to affect something physical by just drawing it on paper works, and amazingly so. If this was then made into 3D and then energized, we could certainly have even a more interesting test to go to. But we also have to understand is that what carries energy. Now, we look at all these, quote, sacred symbols, sacred geometry, etc., and we look at them as, in the classical sense, the pyramids, the pentacles, etc. But everything has a certain energetic nature to it. Particularly, we see this with the ability for 1D drawings of radionic circuits, which then can be used to broadcast information. So you take the actual schematic or the drawing of the actual item, and you are then able to use that energy as if you had a physical machine. Well, what's the implications of all that? Well, the implications of everything is that everything, especially in the occult sciences, carries an energy with them. If somebody makes something, it's a sigil of sorts. They take a picture of it, what happens? Of course, we know of the degraded problems of digital or computerized images, but this transfers past that, especially if you start using them in a very particular, special way. But when you see something online that someone we hope is serious and not just a ripoff, most people are. The problem is they think they have power, but they do have power in their own little way, meaning they are connected to a certain energy. They believe in a certain force, which they then connect to. They may be connecting into other streams of empowerment, meaning if someone thinks they're a great Kabbalah person and they're tapping into the Kabbalah energies, even a portion of that, and then putting that into some particular product, it means that product is holding a certain percentage of that energy for the Kabbalah. So you could get all these items and put them together in a box. Now, this would be very cumbersome and expensive. Yet it is a necessity to do to a certain level. But when we get into these things, every image is a holder of energy. Now, it may be a small amount of energy, and by combining many different ones, you come into what's considered a sigil as produced by the guild. Meaning the fact that you can go to a place that sells love charms. Let's say eBay, other places may have it. You can go to someone's personal website who's making things, particularly making things individually or having them custom made. and then placing it on there. They show you a photograph of it. Well, that has power. And if you're an occult scientist, you know how to draw the power from that without having the physical item. One problem with physical items, as I just mentioned, even with our own amulets, is that, boy, there's an awful lot of energies out there. And you've made an individual amulet for everything. You wouldn't be able to move. There'd be so many around your neck. Well, this is one reason to use certain amulets at certain times, and also to start making more advanced ones that are combination energies, as I've just started doing, instead of making it for one individual person like I did in the past. Well, there's no reason why you can't do up to, at this particular time, 6 people. Why not use 6 individuals? Beyond that, gets to be a question mark of how many individuals or items can you put together. But when it comes to individual energies, it's quite different than items. If items are all used for the same thing, the more you place there, because of the subtle nature of these scalar fields that they're putting off through photographs, drawings, etc., the more you use, the better. When it comes to an individual, you start to get you can get into conflicting energies. We'll have to see exactly how many people can be handled properly without getting to some confusion. I mean, certain individuals in small groups would be excellent. And you can individually draw that energy out of it as well. But when you get too many diverse energies there, it can be a particular problem, and it may be difficult to sort the energy out. So we have to be realistic. But the whole idea is with any kind of, as I call them, connection amulets, you need to have lots of them depending on what you're working on. And you don't necessarily want that energy with you 24/7 anyway. You may want to connect to it for certain periods of time where you actually use these amulets for whatever that is. Maybe that's business success. Other times that's for love connections. Other times that's for higher influencing. So there's many different uses, as we all know, for different things. And of course, I don't know if you necessarily want to constantly have those energies in and around you. It may come to the point that it weakens you if you have too much of the same energy all the time. Let's say influencing. Your consciousness may start to block those energies because you're not using them 24 hours a day. So the whole idea is to wear something maybe for periods of the day, maybe for entire week or so, and then not use them for a few days and use other ones which assist the entire process. So as we get into all these things, that means that everything you see on the particularly on the net is a potential power object. And what you need to do, as I do all the time, I've copied pictures of every single radionic machine online almost, and those that come up for sale every once in a while, which are rare ones, guess what? I've copied those. I then put them together by stacking them in a particular order, and we'll get into that in the next audio, but the whole idea is now we have all these circuits. Now, it doesn't have to be an actual circuit. Now, you could also do that with getting patents for different items, putting them together. Let's say patents for anti-gravity. You know, there are things like that. Well, the patents themselves are a sigil on themselves. They're line drawings, and if you look at them, let's say from a distance, and you couldn't make out what they are, you could say, well, that's a magical symbol. So, but what also is the outside cover? A box, a radionic box. You don't necessarily have to have the inside picture of it. All you really need is a picture of the machine. The machine itself, or the picture of the machine, is vibrating that energy. You technically, if you take a picture of a radionic machine and use it, well, you can use it just like a regular radionic machine. To get the full benefits, you'd have to go through a similar process, but this can be done psychically as well. So as we do all that, that means that everything out there. So if someone has, let's say there's a lot of people that are, again, we're looking for individuals, credible companies that are making a real product, not selling you swamp root oil like so many of these oils out there. But let's say an oil is listed online and there are many people making these. Well, they show you a bottle of it. They give you a close-up photograph. Well, you copy that photograph and you put it in a file for that type of oil. Let's say it's lottery oil, and you put that together with all your lottery money success oils, and that's in a particular file unto itself. Now you repeat this with everything: radionic machines, love oils, amulets that are online from other people that they're selling, historical things. I mean, there's any type of pattern that you can find, and this can be a completed. Now, you got to remember, a completed tool is a pattern. If someone puts together a crystal wand, well, that has a particular energy for it. If it's a healing wand, that means by copying that picture, you're copying a certain amount of that energy that you can then use later. The key to using these, as I said, is because the energetic patterns are lower but can be amplified dramatically by a skilled occult scientist and by the use of certain technology. It's another key that we'll talk about. And of course, by compiling a sigil with many of similar empowerments, whether they're completed tools, whether they're schematics, whether they are all of these things. So we put this together in one energetic scalar, active scalar field. Meaning it's a scalar field that's full of information of the same type, which is then synergistic in nature, meaning it all combines into one greater power. So that's how you basically look at it. So as I've mentioned many times in the past, when you're going and doing things online, you find a particular Asian symbol. You go to a particular website and someone's offering a particular talisman. Well, you copy these and you want to put them in similar categories. Now, I mix all the traditions together personally. So if I go to a Taoist sorcery site and it's something for lottery or healing, I don't put them under Asian. I put them under lottery and healing. And then I will combine this. And this way you get all traditions. If you go to a Santeria site and they have a talisman for the lotto, well, you copy that and you put it in the lotto file. So, and then we'll go into how these are used in the future. But it's not just a particular traditional amulet, pentacle, etc. It's not just something that is written. I mean, there's so many of these. You see, most people have these pictographic empowered figures. They're all through India. They have these, which I use as well, and these can be purchased online. The name escapes me. Of course, the Tibetans have these. They're pictograph designs. They're basically taking a bunch of different things and putting it together in one area. So they may put a symbol for one thing in it and then a certain color. They have these throughout probably the Hindu tradition, I'm not sure. Out of India, you can get these little metal plates that are 4x4, some larger. I have these under all my temples that are particularly used for certain things: healing, success, protection from demonic entities. So these kind of things you can also go and copy right off of eBay and other places that sell these things and put them in the appropriate file. In other cases, of course, you want to, things that are flat like that, generally it's always nice to have these, and I have many of them, but the whole idea, if you're going to make an amulet, you're using a accumulation of all the similar items into an amulet, which, as I said, I'm going to. So, but the whole idea is it doesn't necessarily have to be that. In terms of a traditional one, it could be a picture of an amulet, a crystal that someone is selling that has been charged with a particular god force. When it comes to individuals, I see these things as something different. Now, individuals are different energies and very complicated. So you find an individual that is powerful, and of course, these can be combined somewhat again. It's always good if they are similar in nature, but that may not be. A magical person is a magical person. You could put people together on an amulet that are different magical traditions and then concentrate. And I will show you how to do this and explain how to use those kind of amulets in the near future as well. This will be posted online. But the point is that you can then take these and individuals put together, because we know these people have empowerments. How they got it, we don't know. The point is that most people have some way to train at least some others to carry on for them or have certain abilities that they have similarly. But we don't worry about that. We know that everyone who's empowered is somehow empowered from some sort of energetic stream that they are connected to. Now, a stream is something that connects into a power grid, so to speak. Basically, there's a giant power plant in the sky, so to speak, and it has an extension cord that these people somehow plug into them, either have been since birth or somehow connect to, and that power plant is sending a scalar field with particular types of empowerment to them. It can be general, it can be specific. A lot of people have very specific abilities, such as healing, and other things which don't tend to be across the board. Other people are very good at love magic and success. So these are different aspects, and certain practitioners always tend to be a little bit better. Why? Because they're better connected to that stream. Apparently, some people make sure their extension cord is firmly plugged into a particular stream, and other ones may be kind of loose or maybe not connected at all, so to speak. So, the whole idea is that we piggyback on that. We then attach ourselves to their particular energetic field, and we follow that extension cord back up the stream to its source, and we connect ourselves to it. Now, this should and does work. Now, to what level and everything else is really, it gets to be the point of how talented the actual occult scientist is. It also depends upon your activity level. As with everything, if you're going to be a great healer, you've got to heal people. You've got to go out and do this, and then these streams will naturally, once you've tried to connect to them, will connect to you stronger and stronger. You just can't connect to this and then go out and be a great healer. So it's a process of opening these channels and connecting yourself to them through using as a carrier connection, or even a carrier wave, as you more say in the occult sciences, using these people so that you can connect to their source of empowerment. It's still relatively mysterious why some people have these and other ones not. And this is certainly something that deserves research, but you could spend your life doing that. As an occult scientist, we are all about manifesting, and that means we don't care. We're going to connect to sources of people, draw on their energies, and we are going to then be able to draw from them a certain percentage, depending on personal abilities, the similar abilities that they have. So, this is a fantastic concept that can be used on any type of person or technically energy field. Now, that's how you use a particular person, and that's usually, as I said, you're not stacking one on top of the other, although you could. The whole idea is combine all these energies together. I've done this with stock market empowerments, where we've taken 20 or 30 very successful stock market people and putting them in an amulet where we're connecting that person to this in mass. These types of things, it's still unknown how well they work, and it depends on the individual as well. But they certainly do work, and if you're active in something, you connect to that. First, you connect to the energy of that activity, whatever it is, healing the stock market, and then you start specifying energy fields that other people have created that have created their success. So these people have made insights, have ins, have a certain energy around them that's made them successful. And this is a combination of many things, but regardless of what the combination is, no matter how long they studied, no matter what their ins are, so to speak, how much help they've had from others, that energy is there, and you can draw a percentage of that to you so that you perform at a much higher level than you normally would. And this goes past the basic training, which has to do with learning the system, knowing what the stock market is about, reading all the trade books, etc. This is really beyond that. That's common knowledge. What we're doing is tacking into the occult science knowledge of it all, which will then empower you to extremely high levels. So that's how these connections work. Now, when we get into all these things, the whole idea is finding all these things is quite a momentous task. Especially I've done this over the years, but as you go anywhere and do anything, anytime you see some person of empowerment, some interesting symbol, some sort of physical tool, you constantly are copying these and putting them in a particular file so you can use them in the future. Now, as I mentioned, I will be giving you a basic understanding of how this works, and in the future I will be supplying you with what is already put together sigils in the proper particular order, which is also critical, which we'll go into. And so these blocks of empowerment, which you then stack the blocks on top of each other in a very particular way, I've already created from years and years of collecting these and putting them together, which is quite a momentous task. It takes a long time and it's very boring. But we'll go into all that, and there's lots of ins and outs of making sigils, which I will go into here because this is a critical technology you ought to know about. As well as the fact of supplying you with the master sigils we have right now in case you need to access them, and also learning how to make sigils that I've talked about. If nothing else, making sigils from my already created blocks. And my already created blocks serve as very powerful building blocks that then you supply other things in. And as I said, these are very complicated and contain hundreds of empowered images, sigils, patterns, design, you name it, it's all in there. And I put these together over several years and hours of tedious work putting these together to have these particular blocks of sigil empowerment, which then have to be assembled in a particular way. And this all takes advanced occult knowledge. Making sigils takes advanced occult knowledge. It takes years of really being involved in all aspects of occultism so that you can understand, well, what does this symbol mean? What does this have effect on it? How do you put that together in a particular? All this has to be understood and learned, and like most things in life, anybody can surfacely learn anything. The bigger picture of becoming a master takes years and years of training, and you have to be trained by someone who knows something past bookie level training, and bookie level training only gets you so far. You need someone who's figured it all out, and of course that's what I've done. So we'll pick up more information and go into greater details on the next installment of the sigil training.